This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
It is ATL Day Ones, and we are here on a We're here on a Monday, here today with ATL Day One. See, look, I be playing around with that thing. Look, I be giving myself in trouble sometimes because it's just like, I'm like, don't say it. And then it just comes out. I'm just like, because it flows so well. Like, we just got to find another name for Mondays. That's all. That's all it is.
We totally do, because the other one is Manic Monday, and it's not really manic over here because we're in a good space. We're not in that like cray space,
right?
Like a manic, but definitely in a good space for a Monday, even with like our crazy, quirky, cray weather. And
yes,
our
indeed.
crazy, crazy teams that go up and down. But anyway.
No doubt about it. They are like the stock market. Very unpredictable. All right, but first off, I would definitely want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And I just want to I have one more request. Go ahead and leave us a review, and go ahead and make sure you give us a 5-star review. If you don't leave us a 5-star review, I'm gonna dunk on you like Andrew Wiggins dunked on Luka Doncic. All right.
We'll have a little chit-chatting commentary about that, good people. But
woo, yeah. So yeah, if you don't, just go ahead and give us that 5-star review, because that's, that was extreme last night. That was embarrassing. And then the referee tried to save him with an offensive foul call. I was like, nah, man, you just got dunked on, Jack.
Don't save him. He don't want to be saved.
Exactly. But we want to save you today. We're going to entertain you, because I've been looking at this roster, T, and I think the Falcons need to make one more move. I know you have one in mind. I have one in mind as well. We're going to talk about that. And there's only one way you can look at what happened over the weekend with the Atlanta Braves. We're going to tell you exactly what that is. And last but not least, it is time to pay homage. Give somebody their flowers while they're still living.
Yeah, I love
Stick around to find out who we are talking about. But before we get to that, T, I think the Atlanta Falcons, with OTAs, going into OTAs this week, I was started looking at this roster, and I'm just like, man, I think there's one move to be made. There's just one move to bring in a veteran, because, like you said, there are, the defense is very young, and offensively, you have some guys who are going to be out there for the first time, and Drake London, wide receiver, and you got Kyle Pitts coming into his second year. So there are a lot of different moving parts on their side. And obviously, with a new quarterback, he's a veteran, but he's new to the Atlanta Falcons. And I think, T, for I know the position I would like to bring in, but I definitely want to get your thoughts into what position or player, or you can give me a name as well, that you think that would just be that one move to kind of get the Falcons in a position where, like, okay, they might be able to compete this year.
Yeah, and since we've been talking so much about what needed to be done on the defense, right? Especially in that space of just bringing pressure and affecting the quarterback, and just really having that edge, if you will, both literally and figuratively. And I thought about the fact that it seems like we're becoming Chicago South. So, so wow, there's one more player that's still in the mix. I know that right now the Broncos are taking a look at him. The Cowboys are taking a look at him as well. But Akeem Hicks might be a thought. Akeem Hicks might be a thought. He definitely had he's had a solid career. Of course, picked up with the Saints, picked up with the Patriots, but for the most part, spent the bulk of his career, his 11-year career, with the Bears, and has at least solid numbers, we'll go with, right, in 9 games. And the reason I point this out is because we're just talking 9 games last season, 3.5 sacks. And we both know the sack challenges that the Falcons had in terms of barely getting to double digits as a unit. So, as you and I talked about before, if we can get players who can get in the 5 to 6 sack range, most of them, some of them obviously will need to be double digit, but if they can get in the 5 and 6 sack range, and maybe he's willing to come potentially for a proven year, that's something that could pay dividends. And when we look at the depth chart, and granted the depth chart is a living breathing document, especially because you're just now going into OTAs, you haven't even hit training camp yet, or
Right.
preseason, see who really is your standout player. But we talk so much, not just on this show, but on just in Atlanta here locally, even the fan base for that matter. We've talked about over and over and over. Make sure Grady's shored up. Make sure he's good to go as far as his role on that right side, right?
Yes.
On as a defensive end or a tackle. We don't really talk about that left side very much. And
Mm-hmm.
John Kaminsky showed. I mean, he showed some. We'll call it some splashes. We'll call it some, you know, some hints
Some
here and
toe
there.
dips. He
Yeah,
dipped his toe in the
exactly.
water.
He
Yeah.
dipped
You're
his
like,
toe in the
oh,
water, but
okay. He might be
I
all
don't think
right.
we've ever seen that deep dive from
Yeah.
him. So
Yep.
with him listed number one, technically, on that depth chart on the left side for defensive edge, with Nick Thurman listed there, as well as Bryce Rogers. It just makes me feel like that might be a space, Jarvis, where maybe one more piece, especially you put the nail on the head, a veteran piece, if
Mm-hmm.
you will. That might be a good piece to add.
Yeah, you know
And he's
what?
a
I love Akeem Hicks, and I was introduced to Akeem Hicks when he played against the Falcons. Oh my
veteran.
God,
Yes, he
the dude was
introduced.
just all over the place, just playing around in the back. I'm like, dude, y'all can't block this man. Like, 6'5", 320, which is an ideal size for a 3-4 defensive end type.
Mhm.
He can probably even bump down inside sometimes as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
And with the type of, and then in pass rush situations, get into that 3 technique or that 1, however Dean P sees fit. I think that was an amazing pickup. I'm actually starting to like that a little bit more than what I got. But yeah, actually a little jealous, too. But yeah, I love that pick. I think Akeem Hicks would be an excellent fit for the Falcons. But this guy that I've been thinking about, I think it's
Mhm.
something that, given the situation with the offensive line last year,
Yeah.
right? We know what it was. It
Yeah.
was open season at left guard,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And here's the thing: I'm going to give Terry Fontenot the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Jalen Mayfield may get a little bit better. I ain't gonna even touch that. I'm gonna stay away from that. You know
Mhm.
where I'm
Mhm.
going? I'm going right there at that center position. Matt Hennessy. They did not draft him, so they're not obligated to play that man.
Yes.
So I think they need to go after J.C. Treader. J.C. Treader is
Yeah.
a guy from the Cleveland Browns. He's a free agent. He was a cap
Mhm.
casualty back in March,
Mhm.
early spring this year. So, he's out there, he's waiting around, waiting for a phone call. And I think the Falcons would be an excellent fit because we all know how well the Cleveland Browns ran the football last year. And then,
Mhm.
him opening up those holes for the Browns, and,
Yes.
and he was not like he was cut because he wasn't playing well. He was
Right.
cut because they were trying to free up some money to get Deshaun Watson. So they had to do
Mhm.
what they had to do
Yeah.
in order to get to where they needed to be. So I think that if you bring in a center like a Treader, I don't
Mhm.
think Jalen Mayfield stands out as much because we've seen what it looks like when you bring a center from the Cleveland Browns came down
Right.
and Alice Mack, and how he
Yes.
solidified that offensive line because Chris Chester wasn't the greatest guard of all time, but when you
Right.
bring in an all pro type guy,
Mhm.
to solidify that in the middle of that offensive line, it just makes
Yeah.
everyone better. And I think that would be something that I think the Falcons need to take a look at. Go in a little, spin a little change, work it out, Terry.
Right. And that's the perfect words that you use on both of those players for that matter. And it is spend a little change, right? And so
Yeah,
with Treader, as well as with Hicks, you're not going to break the bank with a team that in the Falcons that can't really afford to break
right. That's why I
the bank.
said veteran guys.
Yes, exactly. So you really got to go. And then, like you said, when you, kind of look at him overall, just in terms of where he landed as far as offensive snaps played. So right around that top echelon, right? So you see some durability there.
Yep.
and not a lot of penalties, if you will. We talked about that before last week in terms of pre-snap penalties that were really
Yes.
killing the Falcons last year, and then not a lot of sacks allowed there, especially when we think about some of those challenges and issues again from the center perspective. So yeah, I like that. I think that would be a fantastic addition. And Jarvis, just in case, going back to the veteran piece there as well, in case there's an opportunity for a Jalen Mayfield or a Matt Hennessy, wherever Treader might land, but of course, likely at center. But there might be an opportunity for Matt Hennessy to learn under a
Yeah.
veteran. There may be some small tweaks to his game that, from the naked eye, you may not be able to see, but a seasoned veteran might be able to say, "Hey, if you just, if your stance is here, if you have this vision, if you see this move or this tweak or this twitch from the D line, here's what that means." That could actually help Hennessy as well.
Yeah, that helps a lot, man. Like that's why I say that's what the benefit of having guys who've
It
been
is.
around, and
Yeah.
who've been successful as well. That's why I think
Mhm.
Casey Hayward's going to be so beneficial for a lot of guys, and Isaiah Oliver, and of course AJ Terrell as well.
Mhm.
He's arrived, but he hasn't arrived just yet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that he can learn to be even better than what he was last year. So
Yeah.
I think those are some of the things you definitely need to be on the lookout for, as
Mhm.
far as the Falcons go. Now, real quick, T.
Mhm.
Dan Snyder has been a guy who has been under the gun,
Yeah.
so to speak, when it comes to workplace environment. He's had lawsuits coming out of here, coming out of there,
Mhm.
financial improprieties. Now he's been investigated, and it has just been a whirlwind of things
Yeah.
that are starting to culminate now for him. And
Mhm.
and and there were some sources say that at least one owner has talked about that they
Mhm.
may be gathering some votes to finally oust Dan Snyder as the owner of the Washington Commanders. Now, I know that's real, but do
Mhm.
you think Dan Snyder's gonna go quietly though?
Yeah. Of course not. Of course not. I mean, there's going to be a little rumbling, but I do think that rumbling is going to be brief because I think those owners are going to rise up, no pun intended, and nip it in the bud and say, "Hey, it's over for you. Okay, you had opportunities to work with us. We had opportunities to work with you to clean it up, and things just kept piling on. Every time we tried to help you put out one fire, there was another fire, and you never, just took the right step back to say, okay, I need to. So I believe this will be a situation like we saw many years ago with the Clippers owner. Of course, I know that's NBA, but my point being, when the owners are taking a step to say you got to go, you're going. Especially Jarvis, if it's the right contingent. We do
Yes,
know that not all owners are created equal in terms of their leverage at the table. So
yes,
depending on who right now is having the commentary of, I believe that if it leaked on purpose, that there's a vote out there because they want the public to know that they're addressing it. And that also puts maybe pressure on those who are not in favor of ousting him. Hey, you got to come on board. But I'm also interested to see, okay, we know that all 32 owners don't have the same amount of leverage and say so at the table. So if you could have this kind of influence to oust him and remove him from the table, I want to see you put forth that same energy to put a diversity candidate for ownership at the table. How about we use that same energy for that base of owners that actually has that kind of pull? Use it for
no
good.
doubt about it. I'm all on board for that. Like I'm all with that. And just one little bit of nugget. I don't really ask for much. I'm not too demanding. Can y'all go ahead and just change that name too? Like whoever takes over, like they have the ability to say, you know what? I don't want anything to do with what Dan Snyder picked as the name of this team. Let's go ahead and go. I got a suggestion. How about the Washington Red Tails? Let's go
Yeah.
with that. I
See,
would
and
love that.
I kind of like the throwback thing. Throw the dang Washington football team and keep it moving. It
Yeah,
actually became kind of
it
a
started to
cool
grow on me.
concept.
Yeah.
It grew, perfect word. It grew on
Yeah.
me. So yeah, maybe when you oust him, oust the name too, and then we can just all. I mean, you had thousands of names to choose from, and that's where you went. And so yeah,
We're not trying to kick you out here on ATL Day Ones. We're trying to
no,
make sure you come back because guess what? We have a big old takeaway that we by watching the Braves over the weekend, there was only really one thing that you can take away from this game, and we'll tell you exactly what that is right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. It's ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T.